What's up, guys? Tim Halston with DragBoss Garage. Welcome back to another epic live chat. I'm glad everybody's here. So let me give a few shout outs. Damon's getting ready for everything. Got to give a big shout out to my family, Andrea, Izzy, and Elena. They're going to be watching. They may show up. They're doing some stuff inside. It's kind of cold here in Ohio, pretty windy. Big shout out to my buddy, Bill Fioretti. Thank you for sending me those Mustang parts, fillers for the back seats. Definitely needed those, Bill. So thank you for always being there. I got a letter from a guy named Steve Baltes. It's pretty cool. You know, I get stuff from subscribers all the time, and I like to give shout outs to them in recognition because that means a lot to me that you watch my channel. But he has, it looks like, I think it's a 64 Comet right here. I'll show you a picture of it. It's bad, man, running to Cleveland. So he sent me a letter on that. I did another video and talked about the car and the performance that it made. But he also sent me these Gap and Roush stickers, which you don't see these very often. So I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. So thanks, Steve Baltes. Also, another quick shout out to Mike Slinkyard. Mike has a YouTube channel called Slink's Flying Garage. So check him out, subscribe to his channel. I haven't even opened it yet. There's a pile of boxes back there I haven't opened yet. But he sent me a Ford Motorsport fender cover, one of those original Ford Motorsport script. I always wanted one of them, and he hooked me up. So thank you, Slink's Flying Wrench Garage. Also, Richard Lavoie sent me a care package, which is sitting back there. I haven't even opened it yet, but it's a Carl Holbrook racing cam from back in the Pro Stock days, and a bunch of Pro Stock pistons I got to check out. I had a guy stop by, Dave Huntley stopped by from Michigan, brought a whole cache of Pro Stock parts that have been sitting in his basement since 1975. He picked them up at Gap and Roush. There's a great story for that, and we're going to bring that on as a video. So with no further ado, welcome to DragBoss Garage, Damon Merchant. Thank you very much for being here.
Hey, man. How are you?
We've been talking on and off for a couple weeks and trying to get our schedules situated so that we can all make time for you guys so you can learn about Street Outlaws, which I'll tell you what I know of it and where it came from with me. Back probably 10 years ago is when I remember first starting to see it come on TV. You know, there's Richard Christensen with Pinks. That was like a big show back then. You didn't see drag racing like that on TV. So, and then you lose your ride. I was really into that scene, but it was kind of fun to watch. Then along came Street Outlaws. And the guys I remember was the 405. That's all that sticks in my head is the 405. Yeah, I never really knew what that meant until probably a few years ago when I realized it's the area code for the phone number, 405. And those are the guys like Big Chief, Sean with the Murder Nova, Chucky, Daddy Dave, you know, there's Boost. I mean, there's so many. Doc. I can't think of them all off the top of my head. But I've watched them for quite a few years, and then I kind of fell away from TV. And then I did some work with MBE. You know, Matt Beineman was on for a live chat like this, and we had talked about Damon Merchant, doing some work with him. Jimmy Biggs, I got to give you a big shout out because you hooked me up with Damon. Damon has the Rogue Camaro, a badass 68 Camaro that's got a big block Chevy. Now it's going to be MBE powered. So we'll get into that. But let's kind of go and get some history from you, Damon. I talked enough. So we got about 20-something people here watching us. So what are you, like 39 or 40?
Just turned 40.
40. Man, I wish I was 40. I'll tell you. Jeez. I just turned 58. 58 yesterday. So let me turn my speaker down. So I don't know if it's me that's doing that.
It might be me.
So I just turned 50 yesterday. So I've been racing a few years. Tell me how you got into racing.
I got into racing probably at a pretty young age with doing a little motocross, doing a little four-wheeler dirt action. Where I'm from, South Oklahoma City, about 40 miles. We had a river bottom, and we did a lot of mud bogs. Got into just tough truck type action, stuff like that. My whole family was involved. My mom raced the tough truck series, and my dad raced the mud bog stuff. So just kind of fell right into it with my parents, really.
Okay. Now you're from what? Chickasha, Oklahoma.
Yeah, I'm originally from Alex, or Ellick, if you're from there, you call it Ellick. It's spelled Alex, though, which is about 15, 20 miles east of Chickasha, about 40 miles south of, about 40 miles south of Oklahoma City.
I said Chickasha, so
a lot of people do. I get it, man.
You ever hear of a tornado?
Yeah, we hear of tornadoes.
Tornado Alley.
They get pretty spooky this time of year.
Do they?
Yeah, it's coming up on May, which is our kind of our season, just like hurricanes and stuff. Everything has its season, and tornado season is going to ramp up here pretty soon.
Do you get them near your house? Are they close by that you see them or hear them or feel them?
Oh yeah, I mean they do a pretty good job of indicating where they're at a lot of times, and none of them have come right through Ricochet, but there's been some on the outskirts of it. There was a big one on May 3rd, and I think 1999 that was massive. It might have been a record, and I think it traveled almost all the way across Oklahoma, and it destroyed a lot of stuff. I mean, them things are devastating.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, I've seen them on TV, but that's about it. Yeah. We have a bunch of people here. A lot of the guys, Todd S., he's from Iron River, Michigan. The Shed, he's from Australia. He says good morning from Western Australia.
Hey, guys.
Mook Lockyer. Mook, I love that name. Mook. Perry Ford. John Fabian. Tornado season already here. Yep, it sure is.
Yep, he's kind of he's my local weatherman and original engine builder for Rogue. So
who is this? John Fabian?
John Fabian. Yep, John Fabian.
Welcome, John. It's good to see you here. Teddy's Gun Shop. It's good to see you here. Ken, appreciate it. So I made some videos, and I'm I'm a procrastinator. I'll have to admit. I try to get things done early, but then I get wrapped up in my own car, which I finally got going after 5 years of all kinds of different things going on. So I didn't get the things I'd like to get done time-wise, but I got a couple of videos done. I posted of your Mustang, the 2005, and also Dumpling, which I called Puddin'. I don't know where that came from. That's my mistake. Your mom saw that on the live chat. So I'm sorry. She goes, "You better shoot that boy from New York." I'll tell you. But the car that you first started with was a '71 Chevelle SS, which you got from Tom Stinnett. Am I right?
Tom Stinnett, yes, he was from town in Lindsay.
Now you told me the story about that. You, as a kid, like 10 years old, you were riding around that thing. It was your old man's buddy or something.
Yeah,
you used to ride around in it.
Yeah, Tom was a little bit older than my father. And he would bring it into town from a neighboring town to get inspection stickers done, which is what we were doing those.
Mechanic work. Because I'm not going to get all worked up. We're having a little bit of Wi-Fi issues like you were talking about earlier, probably from the wind and stuff. So, no, we're all right. We'll keep going. I don't know if anybody heard that, but Tom was a family friend who owned that Chevelle.
Yeah. He was one of my dad's buddies that used to come around and hang out at my dad's shop there in town. If he needed it tinkered with, Dad, he'd bring it to Dad, let Dad tinker with it. My mom actually did the inspection stickers on it, and kept it kind of up to date for him and whatnot. And anytime he brought it to town, he'd take me for a ride or whatever. He got a kick out of me being 10 years old and ripping around town on that thing. So I got introduced to that car 30 years ago, probably. He passed away, and I think my dad went to a guy.
So we're having a little.
Oh, can you hear me there?
Well, it's kind of like fading in and out. So last thing I remember, maybe other people could hear it, was that about 10 years old, he hooked up with you.
Right.
You out there for inspections because your dad owns a garage. Am I right?
Yes, he had a local 2-bay garage area there in Ellick.
Okay.
And he was from a neighboring town called Lindsay. And once he once he needed it tinkered with or an inspection sticker done or something, he was bringing it to town. And anytime he got a chance to, I'd hop in at 10, 11, 12 years old, and we'd go for a ride, and he'd make it pretty memorable.
Well, that's original SS 454 with a M22 rock crusher and a bench seat, no air, correct?
It is, correct. That is a 454 car. So we kept the bench seat in it. We kept the rock crusher in it. Had it rebuilt, but didn't do anything fancy or tricky with it. It's not the original block in the car, but we did have it built, and I put a 4-bolt main. We stroked it to a 489 and put a ProCharger D1X on it. I have no idea what kind of times it runs. I have no idea how much power it makes or anything, but it's fun to drive, and that's exactly what we built it for. We built it to kind of get out there and, like I said, me and Mama do date nights in it, or take the kids out in it, or, just dinner and a movie kind of night. And that's what we wanted to do with it. So once we decided to start building Rogue as a race car, I had the Chevelle, and it was time to just kind of start, fixing it up, sprucing it up. But it's always been a real nice car, even from the day one when I got it. It was original style hot rod,
You could drive that thing anywhere. It runs on 91 octane, doesn't it?
Correct. Yeah, I didn't put much compression to it or anything. It's just got some Brodex BB2 heads on it. From actually, the only thing on the original engine from when Tom had it to what it is now is the heads. And I called Brodex, and they dated those back to 1989, whenever he originally built that engine for it. And ran that engine until he passed away. So I kept I kept those heads that he had on it to accommodate the build that I made for it.
Technical difficulty, guys. Sorry about that.
I don't know if it's mine or his.
It trips me out when that happens.
I know. Everybody freezes up.
So the heads heat. Yeah. It must be the weather, because it's windy and cold as hell here. So the Wi-Fi is probably blowing out, near Oklahoma or something. I don't know. But so the heads that on it were the Brodex that he had.
Correct. Yeah. And like I said, they were dated and coded back from 1989.
Damn. So as well as I do, man. If that thing's got that plus a ProCharger, that thing's making at least 800 horse, 900 horse. I bet it's got.
Yeah, I choose to use a manifold that I could still fit under the hood and not have to change the hood out on it. I wanted that vacuum cowl assist to it. I wanted to keep that on there at all costs.
Yeah.
So if it had a probably better intake, maybe a little bit of some updated heads, that might be something me and Matt at MBE work on next or something, and we'll get that thing hopped up, and I bet we could squeeze some more horsepower out of it that way.
Oh hell yeah. That intake's it's probably holding back at least 35 or 40 horse easy right off the
Oh yeah.
If you don't have a big scoop on it.
No, I just couldn't let go of that hood. It works.
I love that little cowl. I like to see it when you're driving and you're nailing it. You see the thing open up, cowl and duck.
Anybody ever take for a ride, they're like, they make a comment on that, and wonder exactly what it is, why it does the way it does. It's fun. It's cool.
Mopar had the old 6-pack hood, I think, that the air grabber hood. Yeah. That was cool. I always loved those things. What gears did it run? What are you running that thing for gears?
I got a 342. It's still got the 12 bolt in it. Wow. Me and my dad pulled it out. We did the C-clip eliminators, updated the brakes on it, suspension, sway bars, did everything we could just to keep the 12 bolt in it. And it's held up so far. I mean, we put good, QA1 stuff on it. Ride's good. That was kind of the main thing. And then performance wise later. And we beat on it this season at the first part of the street season for Street Outlaws, and it held up. surprisingly, I've never had a pair of slicks on it. I've never dumped the clutch with a set of slick, obviously. So the first night you see us on TV with the Chevelle was its first time on slick. So driving it was really kind of funny, but yeah, it held up. It held up great.
How are you driving a stick? Are you a stick man or what?
People sure did praise how I drove it with the M22 in it. It's a long, shift pattern to it, and I've been driving that thing for probably 8 years, because it took us a little while to kind of rebuild it and whatnot. I've owned it about 10 years.
Okay.
And I don't consider myself a great standard stick guy, but everybody telling me I did a good job, so I'll take it. I missed one shift one night, and it cost me a race. But after that, I got my shit together, and it was fun. It was a good car.
Damn right. How's that? What do you shift that thing at? What the RPM you shifting that at?
I think we've got it limited on the box at like 6,500, something like that. I guess kind of found out where that range was with the cam and the heads and everything, and try not to over rev that thing. It's got a hydraulic roller system in it, so it's not really made to beat on per se, but I mean, I probably run a little bit harder than it needs to be sometimes this season, but we still, since I built it probably about 7 years ago to this engine, because this is the second engine I had in it, I've never changed the plugs, the plug wires, set the lash, anything. I mean, and we've actually fixing to do that. Like I told Russell, let's get together and Dad, and this thing needs some attention. I probably go above and beyond for Rogue doing my maintenance and everything, but this thing has just been drove and beat on and just, set there. So that will be a video that we put up soon, is going through Dumpling.
So guys, I put a link at the end of this live chat to get to his channel, so you guys can check it out, like and subscribe. That's why we can all build our channels. We can get this information out to the people and see what's going on behind the scenes. But your buddy John, he said, "Damn, got my name right."
Yeah, you sure did. You both are Ford guys. He is tried and true. A Ford guy, even works at a Ford dealership. But his thing, if you've got a Ford around here, you usually go see John, and he makes the hot rods out of them.
Damn, I wish you guys lived closer. Here's a question for you. Ricky's House of Crap. That's a great name. I know. Damon, do you know Frankie Taylor?
Frankie Taylor, I've met him a couple of times. He is a interesting cat. He's a good dude. I've had the privilege to meet him a couple of times. Acquaintances, I'd say.
Okay.
He's a wild
one.
There
you go, Ricky's House of Crap. I know, I like that name. There's a few names that are pretty cool.
Sometimes I call this place that. It's not Ricky's, but.
Tom Lewandowski, great to have you on the channel. Thank you, Damon. Appreciate it. I'm a big fan also in Oklahoma.
You got
it. I had to say that to see if you're listening.
Thank you, Tom. Appreciate it, Tom.
Let's see what he says. Darren Wyatt, by far, Joe and Damon are my favorite racers. Nice.
Thank you.
I
think it seemed to stand out that a lot of fans showed a lot of attention to Joe's car and my car as well. I made the switch halfway through the season. Like I said before, it's a TV show. I wanted to be able to kind of make that switch, at the right time. I could not have started the season out with the Mustang, and it was good to kind of get the Chevelle out and get a spotlight around it. So I've had that car a long time. A lot of people locally know I have it. We do a lot of cruises with it, but I've never, had it out. I've taken it to Armageddon, which is our local big no prep race once a year. I have taken it to that, but there's no times there or anything, and I just ran it down the track just to show it off. There wasn't no racing that thing out there. Those daily cars are super fast. So
Rick Norrington, not many good stick guys out there. That's amazing.
Well, I got better throughout the season, I'll say that. But I've got a lot of seat time in this car, and my dad has kind of rode shotgun a few times. Tell me do this, tell me do that. I mean, he grew up in the 60s and 70s, and everything back then had a stick in it. So he had a few little tricks and shit for me. If you can tell from my first night of racing, I completely changed from the second pass forward because it spun real hard off the line against TJ, which was our very first race. So I kind of changed it up, from some advice that he gave me, and it worked out for us. After that, I don't think too many people pulled us off the line. The car's just not that fast. And once we kind of got out of the hole with it, if you watch the show, you could see a lot of people was reeling us in, but we're racing a lot of cars with 1,000 to 1,400 horsepower. So, that Challenger that I raced one night, we actually beat. That car runs 870s at the track. I mean, they're fast, but that's where the street stuff comes in. And me and Craig's been doing this a long time. We're surrounded by a bunch of guys that are excellent at it with, the guys from the 405, and you learn real quick how to get down a street with a bunch of horsepower.
Damn. Big shout out to you, Greg Chandler. Thank you for the $10. Good evening, Tim. Here's a little contribution to the lift fund. When he's talking about, I don't have a lift. I do everything on my back.
I hear you.
40 years.
When I got into this shop, we recently got a lift. It was my first lift.
Was it really? Good. I'm glad you didn't have one either. John's got something to say. John, in building of 347 as we speak. Nice. Appreciate it.
Yeah, he's the Ford guy around here for sure. He's got all kinds of goodies, big block Ford stuff and whatnot.
Ricky's House of Crap. Yes, he's in the shop down the street from my shop. Been friends for years. That's Frankie Taylor he's talking about.
Oh, right on. Okay. Yeah. I've been to Ennis a few times and seen him around, and he's a hoot, man.
Now here's one for you. Something Fishy Studios says, Damon, time to get Russell's caddy Debbie line out.
Oh, if you follow his page, you will see that he's got a rod knocking or a spun bearing or something over the weekend. So Debbie might be down for a little while. Debbie's on the drawing board at the moment.
I think I've seen that car. I can't remember what it is, but I know I've seen it. Or
gold 60. It's a gold 63 Cadillac.
Okay.
It's a big one.
Damn, man.
But it's cool. It's fun.
Teddy's Gun Shop, Street Outlaws, a great show. Yes, it is. There's no doubt about that. There's so many questions I have, and I'm trying to think, well, should we talk about the cars first, or should we go to 405? So, like we said before, whatever happens, happens. We look at it this way. I know Street Outlaws. I know the 405. No Prep Kings is a whole different topic to me. NPK. I really don't know the differentiation between the two. What's your opinion on the two, and can you tell me the difference between the two?
So Street Outlaws has been a film series on the street for, I'll say the first. So they've been on for 10 years now. They've had 5 seasons. So probably the first 10 plus seasons of Street Outlaws has been filmed on the street. After a while, I think some of them got together, had the idea to bring it to the track and put it out there for all the people to see that are fans of the show. It's grown so much, and it's got such a following that they thought that they could probably put something together and hold it at the people's local tracks to have people come out and watch their favorite Street Outlaws after so many years and so many spinoffs to a track where people can meet them, watch them race, watch them compete, check out the cars and everything. I mean, to me, it's more of a show. It's more of a it's got like a Monster Jam type feeling. Everybody's pretty familiar with Monster Jam, and it gives people and fans a chance to come and see their favorite cars, meet their favorite drivers, and watch them compete. That's what it is. That's what I took it as when it first came out. So, but it is a spin-off show of the original 405, just like anything else that's attached to Street Outlaws, you know.
I know I'm going to come and see you hopefully at Norwalk. You're going to be in Norwalk at Summit Raceway and Columbus National Trail, you told me. So I'm going to try to hook up with you.
Yeah, we'll the Columbus is our first race at National Trail. You know, we got the car up at Brando Speed at the moment in Iowa, getting a lot of stuff done to it, makeover, a lot of upgrades. You know, when we originally built Rogue, we took I took a big tire car that was basically an index car that my buddy owned. We put as a roller, we put my dad's mud racing engine in it. We made some changes to it, mainly in the top end, and put it in what, you know, it was a red 68 Camaro. Over time, I tried to get some seat time in it and race it, and you know, learn all I could as fast as I could. Anything other than that I had was kind of a, you know, just weekend hot rod type stuff, you know. And but anyway, you know, we got into building it as a heads up race car, into, you know, no preps, anything no prep, anything street we could get into. And since then, we've competed in a lot of no prep races regionally, did really well with it, got on the show, raced on the street. And then we started kind of getting the hint that, you know, maybe we would try to jump into some of the MPK stuff.
Okay.
I don't want to get spun off too much of your question there, but yeah, that's what MPK is to me, and kind of where we got our start at.
So in a nutshell, you can go to the track and see these cars and walk up to them and talk to the guys, and compared to Street Outlaws, where it's probably not as open. I mean, is it more staged in Street Outlaws or screened? And if this is how it's going to be, you know, how does all that work on behind the scenes?
No, I mean, it's they've done a really good job of opening the pits to the people. I mean, when you get in, you know, some people have their stuff roped off, some people don't. I mean, you know, you walk up and talk to whoever you want, you know, for the most part, as far as I know. And you get a good chance to watch those guys work on their cars, see the problems they're having, how they get ready. I mean, the interaction is really great between the fans and the drivers and stuff. I mean, there's some people, like I said, that have their pits wide open, you know, as long as you're respectful and kind of, you know, maybe not be right on top of them, you can stay right there and watch them work. I've had people crawl under the car with me at, you know, a couple of races when we were changing gears in the car. We broke a rear end one time, and hell, I had fans crawling under there to help me. So it's hey, will you bring me a battery charger plugged into that right there behind you?
Well, this ties into just what you're saying. Here's a question from Darren Wyatt. Isn't it a bit overwhelming to have a bunch of people waiting to get autographs?
It can be. I've tried to be very much a I guess, naturally am. Sometimes, you know, in the heat of the moment or battle or whatever you want to call it, sometimes it could be a little nerve-wracking, but most part people are pretty respectful and stuff. So I haven't had any issues. I haven't really seen too many people have many issues with, you know, fans getting out of line or anything, but I've heard a few stories here and there, especially late at night when everybody's been drinking and stuff.
Might have to slap them around a little, you know. So here's a question for you, and I don't want to put you on the spot, and if you don't want to answer, just say pass or whatever and change the subject. But you know, you see all this stuff like Street Outlaws. I see these videos. How much do these guys make an episode? This guy makes 20 grand an episode, or this guy makes 15, or whatever the number. It's arbitrary. But how much? You don't have to answer this. How much money do you make for doing Street Outlaws?
So at the moment, I'm currently not under any kind of contract. I I do this because I love it. I do this because like me and my buddies, we're going to, we race anyway, as much as we can. Really in the area, I get a lot of questions about, MPK. Now that's a whole different animal. But, as far as the street stuff goes, I feel like we've got in there, we've put our work in and time and stuff. And I'm not trying to like throw it out there that I'm, lobbying or something for a contract or anything, but I think we belong now. And it's one of those things where I was ready to pay my dues. So many people want to jump into this deal and just get paid to do it. And it doesn't work that way. And that's a misconception that a lot of people have.
So you don't make any money? You're not getting paid by the episode?
No, I still work a full-time job.
Damn.
I still put this from, out of my pocket and, what sponsors and help from some local people that I've picked up, and it's just one of them deals where people might think I'm stupid or crazy for doing it. But like I said, I love it. And we were street racing around here anyway. So, I thought, fuck, why not do it? Why not jump in and race the best of the best? Because we're ready anyway. So, like I said, some people might think I'm crazy for saying that or doing that. But like I said, we do it because we love it.
So you can't buy into the 405 with your wallet?
No, there's been plenty of people that try, and I think that's if you look back at season 1, 2, 3 and where these guys come from, and I think I don't want to name any names. They were living in trailer houses they was about to get kicked out of. Some of them had accounts they couldn't pay and whatnot. And it showed a lot of heartache through the first few seasons. And I think that's where a lot of these guys, hit a big fan base that had a lot of people watching at the time, a lot of people that could relate. And I think that like I said, a lot of people could relate to that. So they grew, they hit middle America or whatever you want to say. And so many people since then have got in and are tried to get in and buy their way into it. And what I mean by that, there's a lot of them that buy parts for some of the guys that are already on there. Oh, I'm gonna sponsor you and I'm gonna help you out. Oh, help me get on the show. And that's, it's some bullshit. And they don't do it because they love it, to be honest. That's the way I feel about it. And I honestly think that that's kind of where a lot of people get the idea into MPK. They're not doing it because they may love racing, but 5-6 years ago, they were telling everybody how stupid we were for doing the no prep stuff, and they would never be a part of it. Well, guess what? It's on TV. It's big. It's the cool thing to do, it seems like, for a lot of people, and now they want a piece of it. And that right there, it gives me mixed feelings about who I give a shit to help out there or be a part of or whatever, So, I grew up watching these guys. I didn't have a car to race, but me and my buddies went and we watched. We stood under the street lights in the freezing cold. We helped people we didn't even know just because we wanted to watch 10 cars, battle it out for a few $100. We were there. We seen it. We watched it. We wanted to be a part of it even then. And now that it's it has grown into what it's grown into, we feel like we're the ones that, has paid our dues or whatever, a lot of times I didn't have the car that could run with them or whatever, but, and I didn't even know, I wasn't even sure Rogue could at the time whenever we got an invite, originally from Chief. And you go back and look at our original show, most people didn't even know who we were. I mean, they might have seen us around, but we didn't have any friends on the list or anything. And it took a little while for some of them guys to warm up to us. But, when we made our pass down the street against Kamikaze, unfortunately he wrecked. We made a lick down that road and they knew we were there to compete for sure.
Damn right, man. Nice. So what was it like? This is Big Chief, Damon. Or did he say Justin? I mean, he invited you, right?
Yeah.
What did he invite you? What did you do? call you?
I got a message on Facebook on my messenger,
Okay.
and me and Craig was hanging out, and I can't even remember exactly what we were working on, but we had been running Rogue pretty hard for 6 months. I mean, it was kind of one of them deals. We got into any race we could get into, whether it was no prep or the street. Toby in Kansas City, he put on a big street race, big tire street race that anybody could get into. He didn't give a shit if he was a TV star or some mom and pa, whatever, And we actually hadn't even had the car out ever. And that was our very first race with the car, was on the streets of Kansas City in a big cash days, no prep. We had taken it out and did some testing with it. And we've done some small tire stuff here and there, but nothing with big tire cars. We didn't make a good showing up there, but it showed that we was about that life. So, whenever it came time for Chief to look for somebody, he looked around, said, "Who's doing it? I need somebody," and, knew that's willing to do it when the cameras aren't around. That's what counts to him. And I think that's what counts to a lot of the guys, who's willing to do it under the same circumstances that we were at one time. And there's big tire cars all around here, but for some reason I stood out and got that text message, and I knew a few people that have tried, that have begged, that's pleaded, that's threw money at them, anything else. And I guess they just never could get that text or that phone call because he just didn't respect that, whatever you call it, that mindset or whatever of trying to get into this deal. You got to be cut from the same cloth if you're going to be hanging around a bunch of guys like bunch of real competitive, real dudes.
A force to be reckoned with, Damon Merchant. I love it. So listen, I got to give a big shout out to your mom, Carol. Okay.
Oh, yeah. Mama.
Because I got this question I want to ask you. So Carol, and then let me ask mine. All sponsorships are welcome. This boy needs more sponsors. So here's what I wanted to ask you. And your mom kind of brought it right in. Dude, I know what stuff costs. I only have one little race car and a car that I'm building. So I can kind of just surmise, looking at, not pudding, but dumpling, Carol. My bad. But looking at the Chevelle, looking at the Mustang, looking at Rogue. I mean, we're not talking, chump change. We're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars. Okay? These guys on here, I don't know what they know as far as the cost to build a race car, but I can tell you just the engine in Rogue is probably about $100,000 by the time it's all done and said. I mean,
the new one, yes. I'll say the new one, yes.
And here's what I'm going to get into. You definitely need sponsors. I give a big shout out when I did this video for Dean Images for helping me with the media to make these videos and have you here. 405 Photos, Brando Speed with Brandon Hess, and what's the other guy's name? Let me think about it.
Shane Novak.
Yep.
Zach Sackman. Yep. Those guys have been great. I mean, I honestly couldn't do it without them.
But you call it Iowa, but really it's Brando Speed when you're saying you're going to Iowa.
Yeah.
And then you have the other guys there. Let me think. I have it written down because my mind's not the best. But South 40 Speed, I see them all over your valve covers. Those guys help you with the engines and the dyno tuning?
With the engines and, parts. So South 40 Speed, a local collection of cars that Craig and I we've known these guys for a long time. And we've been a part of their program, and they've been a part of ours. They're not really into the racing scene too much, but he's got a wild collection of cars. He's just a car enthusiast, and it was a brand that I wanted to be a part of whenever we kind of took off with this deal. And it's a partnership. It's not, I wouldn't say a sponsorship, but I try to, anything I can do to help or promote them. And vice versa. They do the same for me. He's been a big part of this. Steve and Brian Gertis have been a big part of this for me.
Well, that's what I want you to do. Give a big shout out to the sponsors. Who sponsors you, Damon? What guys help you out?
So Wildly, a lot of the guys on the show were sponsored by a certain oil company and everything, and I never did, take it into put much a whole lot of thought into it. I buy my oil through the local Napa and whatnot. And when we broke down in Chicago when we were racing, I had a representative from Lucas reach out to us because he's seen Lucas in our trailer, and I think he knew that a lot of those guys were sponsored by another company. And Eddie reached out to me, and he said, "Hey, do we help you out in any way or whatever?" No, I just bought it at the local Napa and whatnot. So it was pretty cool. Lucas is a huge company that a guy like me never thought I'd ever be a part of or anything. But, they've helped me out the last 2 seasons with product and whatnot. And they've been really great to me. Everybody knows what Lucas Oil is. And
Sure.
So they're big into the industry. Recently picked up Renegade Fuel. It's Renegade Fuel I've used over the last 3 seasons with the car. That's how long I've had Rogue out. So the last 3 seasons I've been running their fuel. I think they've taken notice and jumped on. Matt at MBE, we recently picked up. Which you had on your show. That's right. I was a fan of Matt's the last 3-4 years as I was building Rogue. I was buying off the shelf, your Summit parts and whatnot to build my engine. Like everything that I got out of there come from like performance products or Summit or something like that. I didn't know shit about custom engine parts.
Right.
So just from talking to people here and there, Crower and some of those guys, and some relationships I've built over time. That first engine that we started with and I beat on, I probably had 300 runs on it before we ever even pulled it, to be honest.
Jesus.
That's all off the shelf type stuff. The heads were off the shelf, the block, everything. I mean, John Fabian that was on here, we built the engine in his backyard, we built the power glide in his backyard, and we built the third member in his backyard. So everything running gear wise in Rogue, the first 2 seasons, we built right here in our hometown. So I'd like to give him a shout out for that because that sucker held up really good, and we kicked a lot of ass with that car.
Damn. You must have a big backyard.
No, it's probably a 2-car little garage with a little side part where he builds engines and transmissions and whatnot. He's a hell of a power glide guy, and a lot of people told me under that we built a big block Chevy. 548 is what it was, and with 20-degree heads on it from Dart, and we put an F3 121 blower on it, and everybody told me that the power glide would never live behind that, and we beat and beat and beat on that thing and never broke an input shaft. That thing held up the whole time. The only reason that I was so prone on going to a 3-speed was because of the blower. It kept the blower a lot happy through the gear shifts and whatnot, and through the kept that blower spun up. So I knew I needed a 400 at some time, but actually that power glide on the street was pretty deadly.
Have an aftermarket case like a Reed case or something. It wasn't okay.
Yeah, no, I mean it was a lot of good parts. He's hooked up with Hutch up there in Canada.
I've heard of him.
He's a great power glide guy. And Sonics, I mean, we had really good parts in it. I won't say that he skimped on any parts or anything. But no, input shafts I was kind of worried about for a while, but them things held up. We 1-0'd 60 foots all day long with that thing, and it held up like a champ.
1-0'd. Wow. Damn.
Yep. If that thing went a 102, that wasn't, we knew we weren't 60 footing like we should. I mean, that thing 100 constantly. We never got it to the 990s with the power glide, but as soon as I went to the 400,
Yep.
I switched to an M&M 400, and it went from a 100 to a 980 pretty quick with that big, the thing was 2950, weight wise. It was a big heavy car with that steel block in it. So
wow, that car
we were in a lot of shit we wasn't supposed to, but we were making the best with what we had. I promise you that.
Jesus, big shout out to you, John. You held him in there, put him in there.
He did. So, I give him props.
Thank you. the so like someone wants to be a sponsor for you or contribute to your fund. What do they got to do? Call you? Get on your Facebook page? How do they get in touch with you? Shop or what?
I mean, to be honest, any of that stuff that we're doing like that is just me and my wife are handling it.
Yeah.
Contact us. I would say through
Facebook.
Any of our social media.
Okay.
Yeah. We run it all like direct linked, or there might be a website to the rogue405.com page. So yeah, I mean, I want to be able to run the No Prep King series. Everybody knows it's costly to run. It's no different than the Pro Mod series and all that stuff. I mean, these cars are a handful. We recently, it took me 5 years to build Rogue originally. About 4. I'll say 4. It took me about 4 good years to build Rogue into what it was from the date, when we started till we got to start taking it out. And everybody thinks you just throw money at these things and they come alive, but man, it took a lot, sleepless nights and everything. We do everything. We do all, the maintenance and the standard type stuff to a race car. We do it right here. Anytime I have to have fab work or any, electrical work or anything, it goes to the guys at Brando Speed in Iowa. I'm not real keen on taking it to just anybody or people that don't know the car themselves. And then engine wise, we did everything, like I said, John's backyard for a while. And then, he has a daytime job. Once I needed engine work done quicker and stuff, we started using another local guy here in Oklahoma City, Brand Racing Engines, and he's done me really well. At some point in time, we took the steel block out.
Okay.
And everybody thinks I'm crazy for this. That's a steel rodded, steel block, 20-degree headed deal. I bought an aluminum block, and we just put everything out of the steel block into the aluminum block, except for the timing system. And I think that might have been it, because that was the only thing that didn't line up. I had a raised 600 cam with the steel block, and I went to a raised 400 cam with the aluminum block. But it's the same rods, same crank, same cam, same heads, everything from there. I think I just had to change the timing system in it, and I went to a gear drive deal instead of that timing belt. But I didn't have the money to build a whole new engine, so I just bought a block, and we just put everything over into the other one. That's how, it's no different than a lot of your weekend type guys, except for we've got this stage, and I seem to race a lot more than just our weekend stuff anymore. So, which I love, it's fun. Like I said, we do this because we love it. And these guys push you to be faster. And so you're out there constantly testing. You're out there constantly racing. These guys race a lot. If you watch any of the shows, you'll realize that real quick that these guys are racing damn near year round.
So they travel. I mean, I don't know what the weather's like in Oklahoma, but during winter, they're taking off and going somewhere where it's a lot warmer. Unless it doesn't get cold there.
They got 10 of the guys in Australia right now racing.
Yeah, I can see that.
So, but yeah, I mean, Texas stays pretty warm. We're close to Texas, and a lot of people are down in Florida quite a bit. A lot of guys go down there and test them yet. Unfortunately, my car's down at the moment. We're finishing putting the Cobra back together now and getting it all ready. I want to be racing it real soon in some of these classes. Texas always has a whole lot of racing going on. We'll have Armageddon this season again this year. I think that they didn't have it last year. They'll have it this year. That's going to be a big race for us. Outlaw Armageddon. Trying to think of what else. There'll be a few more that we're going to try to get into with one car or the other. I mean, we just want to, jump back out there and start racing again. I had a pretty slow season last season other than the street. We had a really good street season last year with actually both cars, Dumpling and the Mustang. And it, with that Aaron here recently, we want to ride that momentum into this season. That's my plan.
Nice. Let's take a few questions. Oh, go ahead, David.
I was just going to say, and with that new platform that we've kind of put together for MPK, I mean, this is a whole, everything from the firewall windshield forward is new on Rogue. We did not build that car to go stupid fast on no prep surfaces originally. We built it to go fast on streets, and it's kind of a whole different animal per se, and that's what it's taken me a long time. It's been down since last August. Yeah, August. And we've been working on it, quite a bit, trying to get the new engine done and just change everything from there forward. Shane completely rewired the car, but we were doing things with it on the street that we don't need for no prep kings, or it went on a diet. I hope we pick up 1,000 horsepower, and getting with Matt and them and doing the things that we're going to do to that engine, I think we're going to pick that up. And we've been fast with a conventional headed big block small blower single injector car before, and I hope my plan is to just come out with this new one and have the same success with it that we've had with that other engine.
Well, while we're there, let's start working. We'll talk about that. The new engine he's talking about for the Rogue Camaro. Now the top end's coming from Matt Beineman, the Big 9 it's called. They're 9-degree cylinder heads. Beautiful billet intake. I mean, the stuff's like jewelry. It just, when I see it, oh my God, look at this. So let's ask you this. He's had that engine, that platform on other cars, but I don't think he's ever had a power adder to it, has he?
I believe some people have ran screw blowers on them before, but I'm not sure that anybody's had pro chargers on them. There may be even some root systems out there and stuff. I know he's done a lot of work with like Mike Janis and some of those guys in the past, but I don't know what kind of power adders they've ever had actually on the Big 9. And I know it's been well, can't say I know. I'm pretty sure it's had some nitrous shoved in them before too. So, Matt seems like the kind of guy that is calculated enough to know whether or not something's going to relatively work or not. There may be some kinks in it or stuff, and he'll tell you that, but he's pretty sharp on what he does, and I don't feel like he would have steered us the wrong way thinking that it may not work.
He's told me before, he says, listen, I'm going to tell you right from the get-go, because I don't care about your money. I want you to be happy, and I want it to work. So I'm going to direct you. If this is going to work, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to sell it to you. But if it isn't, I'm going to tell you right up front, this isn't going to work for your application. He said it on my live chat a couple times. So
I wholeheartedly believe that about him, because I'm sure he would tell you from jump whether it's going to work or not, or whether he thinks it is or not. And a guy that's got that much time and experience on a product, you kind of, and a guy from like in my shoes, take his word for it and go. Let's try it. I'm willing to try it. The old engine that I ran with the 20-degree heads, we've now put his 18-degree heads on that engine. We think that it's going to be a step up in horsepower quite a bit. So both of my bullets now have MBE heads intakes on them. So I'm anxious. I'm just as anxious to see how well that one's going to pick up and run with his heads. And like I said, those old dart heads that I ran on that engine before were right out of the box. We never touched them. And as good as that engine ran with his, being ported for a purpose, set up the right way with springs and everything, everything that he does, which you can go to any of his videos. He is not shy about information, and he can tell you all about those 18-degree Maxport heads. And then you could kind of see the difference. I mean, when he sent them to me originally, just looking at the port work and, how they're set up and everything, they just look like horsepower. You know what I mean? So I was kind of blown away by that. And, I'm just as anxious to get that engine together and try it out as I am the whole Big 9 system and setup. I think both of them is going to just be, a handful, however we run the cars.
So the 18-degree, what are you going to do just with that engine? Switch them out from road, depending on what you need?
Yeah. So as we've talked, I'm kind of like I said, like a grassroots style racer. I don't have to, like some of these other guys have 2 Proline engines just sitting that are, mirror images of each other and everything. So if something was to happen and I need to throw that 18-degree headed engine in it, that's going to be my backup motor per se. We've had a pretty good handle on that older engine before. We feel like we can probably get our head wrapped around this one pretty quick. Plus, we're going to run the same blower that we've always had on it, the 121. It's set up real similar to it. It should just make more power with the better head setup, better intake setup, and whatnot. Still, everything else is the same about it.
Okay.
But the big 9 is what we're going to primarily start out with first. Like I said, try to get our head wrapped around it and, kick a lot of ass with it.
Damn straight, brother. I like it. All right, let's hit a few questions and see, because they're building up, and we'll see. I think at the end, if you don't want to answer it, just say I don't know or I pass. So
I feel like you got one loaded here.
Darren White, Ryan Martin is nice in person.
Yeah. Ryan, I think, gets a little bit of I feel like he's somewhat portrayed as some Richie Rich guy that's on there, but since I did not know Ryan before we got on the show. I seen him around, but I didn't know him. What I will tell you about Ryan is him and his crew will get out there and test and test and test. You can say he's got all the money in the world you want and all that. I don't know what his, account, how it's set up or whatever, but he's worked his way into a position where he's got good connections, I will say, and he is not afraid to test the rods out of that engine, getting ready for a season. And he's got the knowledge and the connections to, be ready for, the next race or whatever.
Okay.
Since getting onto this deal, I admire him a lot more than I ever thought I would. Just kind of seeing him around and stuff. I don't judge a book by its cover, but they work their ass off. I'll say that.
Thanks. Damon, what do you think of Daddy Dave's new car? You should be paid. And you should be paid. Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
All right, let me answer the first part of that. What do I think about Daddy Dave's new car? I think he needs to let me drive it. That's what I think. We're the same size, about the same size. It's really pretty. I'm a lot better looking than he is. So I think it's a lot better fit. But, it's going to be his baby. Bob Tynan did an amazing job on that. I went with Dave to PRI. We went to Bob's. We loaded it up there. We took it out there. And it's one of those that I don't even want to breathe on it wrong.
Oh, yeah.
So gorgeous, and they did an amazing job on it. That's what I think. The engine combination and stuff that he used, I'm anxious to see him get out there and test with it. I know it makes big power, and it's just not what everybody else runs, and that's kind of a whole nother thing for MPK. All these guys do a lot of monkey see, monkey do, and he kind of got outside the box here this season. Went with a different engine platform, I think with Carl Stevens Extreme Engines. And I know those guys are anxious to get out there and probably pick on a lot of those Proline systems, setups, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah. And you should be paid. There you go.
And you are right. I'll answer that one too. Yes, I'm not scared to pay my dues. I've said it over and over and over to people that are close to me. Like I said, some people think I'm crazy, but like I said, me and Craig do this because we love it. So, but I won't, as we're going here and we're coming out of pocket a lot just to accommodate to race with these guys, you're right. Like there's only so long I can do shit like that,
All right, guys. So listen, Discovery, I know you're going to watch this, whoever runs the PR for that. So you can start training him, and then you can give me a show with my family with engines and cars with the kids.
There you go.
Thank you.
I might even try and make an appearance on that too.
There it is. Welcome. You'll be here. This is kind of interesting question too. Rick Norrington, at least at the track, it's controlled environment with safety crews. Even at the track, I've seen bad ones that have been terrible without safety crews. What's it like when you're on Street Outlaws? I mean, I don't see safety crews. I don't see anybody wearing fire suits. I think they wear helmets. Or no, they don't.
Yeah. Well, okay. So when we're filming, they have a stuntman, safety guy on set, and he checks the cars over. He has a checklist for the cars. He has a checklist for us, and we have to abide by that. They do have first responders on site, and like maybe one ambulance. I'm not sure. I've never had to use it, thank God, but I have seen it. You know, everybody's pretty keen on. If you haven't seen it, I was racing Kamikaze when he crashed, and I was racing Jeff Lutz when he crashed. I was there when Doc, wrecked his car. So I've seen it used a few times, but those guys all, I would say, walked away. I mean, there was somebody there to make sure that things were being done right, I'll say. There's a few safety guys out there for sure. Like I said, the ambulance and whatnot. We have to meet requirements with our helmets and gloves and fire suits with the bigger cars. Now, I will say this year, since we went to the streets, or since we went to the different cars on the street, they're not near as fast. They're not held to the standards that the big tire cars were. So with everything I said a while ago, it was more towards the big tire car stuff.
Yep.
Now that we went to the daily driver / small tire street stuff, they're not as big of sticklers on them anymore. It's pretty much, if you show up on a weekend, or maybe other than the long pants, they might get onto us for the shorts, but I hope not. It's hot in them cars, and it's in July, and nobody wants to get burned up, though.
No, not at
Even
all.
my daily has a fire suppression system in it now. After some incidents that you see and whatnot, excuse me, I want to come home and see the kids, after every street race. So, it has a cage, and the Dumpling did not have a cage, and Dumpling did not have a fire system. And when we decided to do the Cobra and everything, we wanted to make sure that, safety first. I'll just say it. So we paid attention to a lot of that.
I know I seen Sean once race with flip-flops back in the day. I can tell you that. Yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty notorious for flip-flops, and I love my flip-flops, but I've yet to test in them or race. I'm pretty sure people have seen him racing in those things.
Yeah. Ricky's House of Crap. What happened to the Texas boy driving the yellow Mustang that was living in a trailer in the shop parking?
Boosted GT.
Okay.
Yeah, he's somewhat of a legend, these days around here, especially with the small tire stuff coming back. He's kind of been the guy that was kicking ass long ago on the streets with a small tire car and picking a lot of big tire cars, and everything starts steering towards that big tire car or the big tires. Well, he kept his on smalls for a long time, and now it's coming back around. Everybody respects that guy a lot on the streets and at the track. But now he is also the announcer for the No Prep King series and does a killer job.
Okay. But he was living in a trailer in a shop parking lot?
I mean, that might have been set up kind of deal. I'm not sure. I wasn't around there then, but they told him he needed to live in Oklahoma, so I think he drug a pop-up trailer up I-35 and staked his ground. So he, which made good TV. And the son of a bitch can race, so that's all we care about.
Something Fishy Studios. The old days of racing behind the old Walmart kickshaw on Friday nights was life. Missed those days.
Yeah, we had to move around a little bit, and actually, half the season, you beat on them things. I think they built a apartment complex behind there and a movie theater, so we had to move back around the old Gabriel Shock place. It's kind of industrial park around here, but recently, half the season that you watched on Street Outlaws was filmed here in Chickasha out by our local airport on a street that doesn't get used a lot. So we had a chance to talk to the town of Chickasha and beat on it. So actually, I drove Dumpling and Sedusa out there every night. So I wasn't, having a trailer or anything from Oklahoma City or, out of town or whatever. I mean, it was pretty cool. I was home in 5-10 minutes after race night.
Nice. John, the first freshen up was 2 years ago today. Popped up on memories.
So we've had that car going on 4 seasons now. So yeah, first 2 years we were on that engine. That's right. Yeah, that platform held up really well, dude. You should be proud of that one, John.
And I don't know if you know the guy in here. I'll put it up, and then if you don't know, you don't know. I'm not sure if it's just directed towards me or you. But this is R-Dub Falco. Happy Sunday, DBG. I did a video on my channel with Brandon James, a.k.a. #BFJ at CSM Racing Engines. Lance builds BFJ's motors, Chris Alston Jr.'s Buddy's motor, and Kelly Nate's motors.
Well, that's it.
Okay.
Interesting fun fact, I guess.
There it is. Thanks, R-Dub Falco. I'll check it out on your channel.
Good plug.
It is. Rick Norton, awesome hearing about what you do and what you got. Exactly what I'm always trying to do with my Mustang, like polishing a turd to make the most out of it. Hey, you work with what you got, man. That's a fact right there.
That's right. And we are poster boys for that. To run with these guys with these $120,000 Proline engines or these big screw blown Hemis and all that. We picked on a lot of Hemis this season with that little 548 that we built, a couple of years ago. I did run it all the way up to Tulsa where that like I said, out of the box shelf head let go. It came apart and I knew it was time. We knew we was running the car hard, but we put it on a lot of Hemis this season. I'll say that.
I mean, what are these Proline motors? You always see them on the valve covers. I mean, what do these motors cost? 100 grand? What are you talking?
I think 100 grand on one of those is kind of the base, the base engine that you can do. Yeah. I mean, to be honest, I've never even looked into purchasing one. It's not even in my realm of thought. Like when I built the engine that we're talking about putting in Rogue now, I've been working that for 2 years. I bought the block. Actually, I'll tell you that Steve and Brian helped me with the block. We bought the block, and then I bought the crank. And this is month by month by month. I save up, I buy. I save up, I buy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
So exactly. And that was a big part of Matt getting on board with this deal is he helped me out a lot on that part of it. That's a big expensive part, is the heads and intake and whatnot, and especially the caliber of product that is. Like it took me a long time to build this engine. Like I said, we probably 1.5 to 2 years. I don't know how I could look at the build date on that block, but Craig, when did we go get that block? Yeah, a year plus. It's been over a year since we went and got that block, and we've been just kind of putting parts into it ever since. So, I mean, nothing's just like, hey, build me an engine, Proline. You know what I mean? Like, it's not how it goes for me, dude.
Yep. Now just give us a quick update. Craig, you talked to him. Now, is that Dean Images?
No, Craig's been with me from day one. Like, he's my neighbor. Okay, so he had a car. He's had a couple of cars over the last few years. And when I was down and wasn't racing or building, actually, I'll go back even further. When the car was red, when Rogue was red and we had the mud racing engine in it, he would come and kind of help us out, just be there, mechanic, help me out, whatever. Then it was down and he had a couple small tire cars. March 17th. Okay, we went and got the block March 17th. So that was 2 days ago. So that was a year ago. But we had been acquiring parts ever since. So anyway, he just showed me that. So when my car was down, I helped him run a small tire car stuff. I mean, anything that he was getting into, like I said, this is what our weekends consist of. Street racing's huge here. So when I decided to run Rogue Heads Up, Big Tire, all this, he had never.
Had to put a picture up.
Oh yeah, you're good there. He had never tuned a 4-second car, and I've never drove a 4-second car when we built that car. Okay. So, our agreement back then was, hey, I'm going to have my hands full, learn how to drive this thing and do the maintenance on it and all this stuff. And he helps me with the maintenance and everything, but he's real knowledgeable on, tech savvy as far as working the ECU, working the program for it and everything. And he had never messed with fuel tech either before. So he went with me to dyno it, learned what he could, power management and all that. So we've done this from day one with, little to no knowledge at all on how to get this car to what it's been able to do. But like I said, he's my neighbor now. We moved here about 2 years ago from about 3/4 of a mile away. So we've always lived real close to each other, from the same town. He's like a brother to me.
Okay. Big shout out to you, Craig. Thanks for helping out Damon. I've seen him in pictures before, like you're looking at the laptop and you're sitting in the car. He's next to you. I think he's got a beard too.
Yeah, he's like my stunt double. I call him my stunt double.
Oh yeah.
Anytime we're bringing the car back, I'm hot, crabby, sweaty. He'll jump in the car. He'll drive it back or whatever, or pull it back or whatever from some of the no prep stuff and whatnot. Everybody thinks it's me in there because he's got a beard. Wears his hat. I'm about a foot taller than him, but you can't tell it in the car. Let me think.
What's up, Terry? Good to see you here.
You'll have to check out his. Go to his page. You'll have to check out his truck. He's got a 580 big block Ford Pro Charge motor in it.
Okay.
He's building a small tire Ford pickup, a little Ford Ranger. What year is that? 90? 85 model. Black 85 model Ranger. You
tell him to hook up with me, and I'll make a video. We'll have him on, and we can talk about some of his stuff. It'd be kind of fun to listen to.
Will do. He's in works of putting fuel tech and everything on it, so it's gonna be a wild little ride.
Greg Chandler, the 405 brings back a lot of memories from back to the days when I had my Coronet RT 440, except for the money. Thanks for everything you do, Damon. He's thanking you.
Oh, appreciate it, man. Thank you for watching. Thanks for the support, dude.
R.W. Falco. Discovery owns the show. Another company does the media, videography, and editing.
Yes.
Okay.
Pilgrim Films does all of our media. What they film everything, and then, like I said, everybody thinks that Discovery films it and pays us and all that. I mean, it's basically we work with Pilgrim Films to shoot all this, and then they have already contracted it to Discovery or Discovery. I don't really know all the ins and outs of all that stuff, but we work with Pilgrim Films.
Got it.
Pilgrim Film Studios, something like that. Yeah.
Darren Keys, what updates to the Daily Street Chevelle? I think we kind of talked about it, but I don't know if there's something new you may have done.
Nah, we've been so fixated on getting Rogue back together, and we heard. If you watch the end of this season with the Cobra, we heard it the last night. We've been rebuilding that engine and doing some upgrades to it. It's the car that we're going to push to continue to go faster. I know how this stuff progresses, and I've never been on board with ever putting a cage in Dumpling, putting an automatic in it. All this shit that progresses to make these cars go as fast as they do. I just, that car means more to me than that. At some point, will I ever build another Chevelle to do this kind of stuff? Maybe. If I ever get to the point where I can afford to do all that, yeah, maybe. But this Mustang's kind of where our idea is around to use for the show and getting Rogue ready for MPK. So I have not touched Dumpling yet, but we're fixing to do a tune-up on it. I need to go through it. Third gear, the synchronizer in third gear has been screwed for 3 years now. So all season long, when I got it into third, I had to hold it into third or that sucker was going to pop out. And it just needs a lot of TLC. You know, I don't want to get that. I never want to hurt that car.
Sentimental, man, right there.
Yeah,
You know?
it really is. Yeah. The things that it's actually the original paint and top and everything on the car. The only thing that I changed to it was suspension and the engine. And then, like I said, it's the original 12 bolt, but we updated and upgraded some of the things on it.
Yeah, you definitely have to check out those videos. I just kind of put them up before we got on here.
Look
at them and see what they look like. I put them on your Facebook page.
Right on.
And it is cool. I love that Chevelle, man.
Thank you. I do too. You know, and what's funny is when I was growing up, my dad had a 66, I believe, Chevelle. I've always been a huge fan of the 67s. Those were my body styles.
That's mine too.
And then all of a sudden, when this one popped up for sale, like I said, it had so much sentimental value to it. I love a 71. Everybody likes a 70. I like those tail lights in the 71 too, but I like the split, arc light on the 71.
Yep.
And not the full one like the 72. So actually, the 71 is actually my favorite car. So it's got good lines to it. It's got a good, big, wide, stance to it. And I think it's just one of the overall most badass muscle cars.
I remember you told me that Tom had put a dual fuel system in it, so he could run race gas and flip a switch, right?
Yeah. I think him and his daughter, I believe, if I remember that right, was doing just local weekend races with it. He was letting her race it and whatnot. He had won, I think, Super Stock here in Oklahoma City, NHRA in 69 or 70 or something like 69, I believe. And his daughter kind of picked up on drag racing right after that. He got this car, and they still had the fuel cell with like a Mallory pump on it that would override the mechanical pump when they turned that Mallory on, and it would start running race gas through it. And I think he had like a 1050 Dominator on it, solid roller cam, which I ran for a little while, and then we ate that cam up. That cam didn't like how much cruising and stuff we were doing and whatnot.
Okay.
So, which I probably wasn't very nice to it either.
Hey, Ed's Machines, good to see you. Thanks for being here. And I've seen you in this. I'm pretty sure Coffee and Cars. At least I've seen you drinking coffee in the car. In the Mustang. Yeah. It's in the video with your son, I think.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we try to support our local Coffee and Cars. I'm gonna try to do a couple coming up in Oklahoma City. They're doing some big ones in Oklahoma City. Like they have thousands of people coming through, and but we have a local one that we do. 30, 40, 50 cars.
Nice.
Hey, let me take one break real quick.
Yeah, go ahead. I can do all the talking here. So anyways, I hope you guys are enjoying this. It's kind of seeing, I thought sometimes I have a plan. We'll talk about history, then we'll talk about this car, that car, and then his other car. I mean, the Chevelle, the Mustang, and the Rogue Camaro. But as things progress and as they unwind, you can see how it goes. We just kind of talk, sit back, and bench race. And that's what I like about this channel. There's no big format we have to do. We're not where we have to finish something. What's up, brother? It's good to see you. So I like that. But I got to get moving on. I got a couple of videos I got to post. I've been working on the Cougar. You've seen the video. I got that thing running after, 5 years? So that took a lot of time with COVID. And, the chassis shop was like close to almost 2 years of being there. So I'm kind of behind, but I'm not behind. My goal is to be at the strip on April 15th, which I should be there if everything works out well. I got to build the transmission with Elena. Her and I got to finish doing that. The 354 is right there. Izzy and I have to finish measuring the pickup, putting the pan on. I want to get that on a run stand, and then I want to dyno test that. I'm porting the intake manifold for the first time on that strip Dominator, so you've been watching that. Damon's back. So let's see. And it's funny that we talked about Proline because this kind of question answers that. Local guy here in Oregon ran a Proline and said you can't hate money enough to run one. So, they're damn expensive. There's no doubt about that.
There's two parts to that for me. Like, do they have a badass engine platform? I believe so. It's proven. It's won a couple of seasons of pro mods and MPK events and whatnot. Ryan runs one the last 3 seasons he's won. So you can't knock that the performance is there, but for some people like your grassroots racers and guys like me, we can't. I'm not just jumping out there and buying one. And on the flip side of that, I really hate seeing when you go to MPK and there's 30 of those engine combinations in every car out there. I had a real hard time saying, yeah, that's what I want to do, because I like doing stuff different. You know what I mean? Like,
I can dig it.
So, and and there's some rules out there that I thought we could take advantage of with our combination that we put together to run MPK, and it's just going out and proving that now.
This is a good question, and it could be towards me, but it's obviously towards you. But we're both in the same boat. Darren Wyatt, are you going to let your kids race when they're of age? Now you've got. Let's see. There's Logan.
I got my daughter Tegan, which is 16. No, she'll probably never race. She's very timid. Just not her thing to do. And then I've got Logan. She's 13 now. You never know about her. She might jump right in a door car one of these days and want to race. And if she wanted to, I'd have to support it. I couldn't say no. Bryson has actually done some junior dragster racing. We hooked up with a local guy here that's done kind of put a program together where he's had young people race juniors for him, and he reached out to me, and we got hooked up with him. And Bryson's drove his car a few times and has done really well in it. So I've been there to support him. Look forward to supporting him even more this season, and I think he's anxious to get back out there and do it some more.
Nice, thanks, Darren. Appreciate the question. In my case, I'll just kind of throw my 2 cents in. I have 2 daughters, Izzy, who's 11, and Elena, who's 7. It's funny. My 11-year-old looks just like me, acts like me, but it doesn't seem to have the racing or the engines that my 7-year-old that looks like my wife. She was in the car the other day to have the helmet on, the window net up. I'm like, how do you know how to put the window net up? She goes, Dad, look, it just clips right into here. It's nothing. So I can see
figuring it out.
Right. And I can see that different view when they look at racing parts and engines. They want to touch and get into it.
Oh yeah. Mine have grew up in the shop for sure. I mean, I grew up in a shop. There's some, pictures out there of me and my dad when I was really young. He always had hot rods and whatnot that he was putting together or working on, somebody else's or something. And I was always, if I wasn't trying to help him, I was 10 feet away sleeping on a creeper. That was kind of my nights, weeknights, watching him moonlight and stuff. So,
nice.
They've just been around it their whole life.
BRM, good to see you here. I see some MBE boxes in the background. Nice. There's a lot more than that, believe me.
To accommodate 2 engines and and the help that he's given. Yeah, I've got MBE boxes all over the shop right now. So we're figuring some stuff out, and he's wanting to support me, and I want to support his product. So he's that dude's good as gold. So
damn straight.
I'm looking forward to really learning a lot of this to kind of push his product out there and win some events with it.
Darren Wyatt, don't forget to hit the like button. You know what? You're exactly right, Darren. Guys, don't forget to hit the like, share, and subscribe. I mean, that's how we build our channels. I thank everybody. I have like 15,200 something subscribers. So I appreciate that. Damon has about 5,000, maybe 6. I don't know. How many do you have? Subs? How many subs do you have? Do you remember?
No, I'm really not. I'll just say this now. I'm really not that tech savvy. That's why I got Russell helping me out. He's a lot better at that stuff than I am. I've never been a big YouTube. I watch videos, but I've never been big on trying to figure out how to do it. I need to learn. I'm trying to learn, but he's been a big part of trying to help me out and get there. So honestly, I don't even know exactly where we're at right now.
He's got like 55 to 6,000 last time I checked to see. I'll try to help.
Definitely take your word for it.
We'll see. But thanks, guys. Please, like and subscribe to our channels, because that's what helps us bring you entertainment and things you've never seen or heard before.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Terry Grover. Tim, talk about how much the transmission costs to back up the power of a Proline engine. I don't know if that's being your boat there, because regardless of Proline, what's a 2-speed power glide cost? 10 grand, 15?
John might be able to kind of jump in with a comment here in a minute, but
rough.
I'm trying to think on a power glide system how much we had in that deal. Now in my M&M system with the I'm not sure with the converter. I ran a Pro Torque converter for a while now. Probably around 25 grand or so, I would say, for one of those, a transmission, a 400 like that to hold up behind a engine like that, or 3,000 plus horsepower. They're not cheap, and I run one. I don't, like I said, a lot of people ask about spare parts and whatnot, but I run one and just try to take care of that sucker.
Damn, I never knew they cost that much.
Yeah, I cannot remember exactly what we had in that power glide though. I mean, it was substantially cheaper, but like I said, we knew the downfall of it, and we were just working with what we had at the time. It took me a while. It took me a while to build up, a little bit and then to come up with the funds and everything, do some of the upgrades we wanted to it, like a billet valve body and shit. I always ran just a steel valve body and whatnot. John knows the ins and outs of the clutches and all that. Transmissions are like a damn voodoo to me. So they're wild, especially a converter.
I'm still running one out of my 77 T-Bird, and I got the same converter from 20 years ago. I still run the same converter.
Hey, baby, if it works, stick with it. I mean, you see me with an M22 over here, and I'm waiting on that thing to grenade any time, but that thing just holds up. So it's got a scatter shield on it, though.
Now, when I first started talking to Jimmy about you, Jimmy Biggs, and started getting some info, I said, well, I'm going to find out about this guy, this Damon Merchant. So I did some research, and here's this question I'm going to put up next to kind of tie into that. So I looked up stuff, and I said, wow, Damon Merchant, he's got a patent on a certain type of film processing.
Oh,
he got this, he does this. His wife, Lacey, works on the car constantly, does all this work. Okay, so just remember that. Now, something fishy says, Damon, when is a wife getting behind the wheel?
I try to get it. Go ahead.
Sorry. Can drive or something like that. Yeah.
So I have seen that video as well, and I learned a lot about myself too. I mean, if you believe it or not. But no, I do not have any film studio patents. I don't have any. I'm from a town of about 500 people, and I've worked in the oil field for the last 20 years. So most of that stuff on that video is bullshit, but but it is entertaining.
Yeah.
I've tried to get her to drive Dumpling a few times. She's just not she's kind of like my oldest daughter. She's kind of a little timid, and but I think one of these days I'll get her behind the wheel of that Mustang. It's not a 4-speed, but I can get her to drive that Mustang eventually.
Okay, thank you. Something fishy. Is Damon's channel the Rogue 405? That's the name of your channel. Yep, that's it.
Yeah,
so
that's it.
Sub and like. Thank you.
Please, yeah. And we're gonna come out with. We've got a little bit of content out there now. Like I said, I work for a company that's 24/7, so it's kind of up and down about how my weeks go and everything. But I don't put as much content out there as I had wanted to. But we are working on a few things to try to come up with more YouTube stuff. We've got a lot of things coming up with going to pick up the car at we're going to pick up Rogue at Brando Speed. taking it to dyno it, getting the Cobra on the dyno. We want to cover all that, and then testing from there, and then into MPK. Russell's got a podcast that he's working on putting together. And we kind of have some plans for that. We may do a few podcasts live from some of the MPK events, which should be pretty interesting. We've been talking about that a lot. And we kind of want to get that ball rolling a little bit and kind of bring you some behind the scenes of what's going on there. And then even maybe on site for the street stuff as well.
Definitely. I love that kind of stuff, right there live. Like this is live. I mean, you do a mistake, everybody sees it. You can't be afraid of mistakes, John chimed in, probably 6,500 with a big input deal, less converter for the glide.
Yeah, there you go, 6,500, and you could have a killer glide from Fabian Motorsports there.
There it is now.
That thing's trying, and it's still running in another car, another small tire car that's local, and Bill Brown bought it, and they've been beating on it for a while now. So that sucker's it's the real deal.
Now here's the disclaimer. Pre-COVID.
There you go. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. So he might not have built one like that since COVID. So that's what he's saying.
What's the worst wreck you two have had?
I've had 2 accidents in Rogue, and neither one of them was on the pass. It's both been on the shutdown. I had a learning curve after I ran the car for about 2 seasons on a shutdown procedure that I probably won't get into too much because I don't know the ins and outs of it very well. I'm not real secretive, but I don't understand it still to this day. But shutting down cost me 2 front ends, front half of the car. Like we did some things, and I shut down my routine on I'll put it this way. When I went from the Power Glide to the 400, it was 2 totally different shutdown procedures. And I wrecked back to back some costly accidents. One was at Ennis at MPK, and one of them was while we were testing at Wichita Falls. And I got my shit together and learned how to shut that car down real quick after that, but never in an actual pass. I got on the curb once at Racing Monza that was on the show. That one woke me up a little bit, but riding the curb in Rogue at 170 mile an hour was pretty wild. I'll say that.
I think I saw that video. It was the rookie hits the curb or something.
Yeah, there you go. The rookie hits the curb. That's probably it.
And I put it on one of the videos. It's on one of the end cards. So after you get to the end of the video, you can click on it. And
I'll have to check that one out.
Something fishy.
Now let's hear about your wreck. You had any accidents you want to talk about?
Yeah. I've had 2 accidents, and they're just from doing wheel stands. I don't know. People see my pictures a million times. Deal. I don't know. Can you see this if I put this up?
It's in the background, but I can see the front end at the very top of the page.
Yeah. Well, if you see the top of the fender up there, then I've done that twice. And when the first time I did it, it came down and landed sideways. So my car's going on the passenger side. The front bumper is dragging on the track sideways, and then it flipped over on the wheels. The other time, it just tapped the oil pan, and then I learned that I needed better shocks.
I see.
But that's the only mishaps I've had. One time I had throttle stuck and I went in the sand, but that's nothing to talk about.
Were they both in the Cougar?
Yeah.
Okay, I got you.
The problem is, and I'll tell you, I don't know if you know who Calvert is, John Calvert. No. He does the Cal tracks and the monoleaf for stock stuff. Yep. So he's a buddy of mine, and he used my car, my Cougar. You see the back end right back here, back in '98 to make the monoleaf spring.
Okay.
For Mustangs and Cougars, and he makes Cal tracks. So he hooked me up with all those parts. Well, I didn't know that once you get in the 9-second range, you better have a good double adjustable shock in the front of your car, or you're going to be smashing it. Because once you get to that horsepower level to go in the 9s, the car needs so much more control in the front end. Your cars don't leave. You probably have tight suspension. I mean, they're gone, man. There's hardly any wheelie to it, and that's what you want to go fast.
Yeah,
you don't want to control.
A lot on wheel speed.
I wanted big wheelie pictures. That's my dream, was to have those big pictures.
You got them.
I was a kid like you. So once I got them, now I just want to, a foot off the ground is all I need, and going 9 feet. So I don't need to go any faster. So that's my mishaps.
I understand that. We all have our goals, and
here's one for you. And I don't. This is a good one. What's special about shutting down other than the chute and cutting power? Do you guys use chutes? You do in the big tire stuff.
Yes, we do in the big tire cars, and that, like I said, that's the ones we were having issues with. I mean, there's, like I said, there's no secrets. I just not exactly sure what was so different, but I could get away with getting off the gas, pulling the chutes pretty much simultaneously, and wasn't real keen on driving into the chutes. And I got coached that. Mark was on me a lot about that. My buddy Mark Nebus from Iowa, he's been a big part of my program, and he's, if it wasn't for him, it would have took me much longer time to learn how to drive this car and do what I do with it. But he was on me about it. I was kind of a little bit hard-headed. It took me a little while, but driving into the chutes and getting it off the gas and into neutral same time. Well, when I had that power glide, it didn't really get the car in a bind or a jam. But for some reason, if I didn't get it into neutral fast enough, it was almost slowing the rear wheel down too slow, and it would put that thing into a hop, which would drive it around like a damn forklift out there, and then I'd run it into a wall, at 180 plus mile an hour. That's what was happening. Or it'd go right into a skid. It'd either go into wheel hop or it'd go into a skid. And it did it back to back, and actually did it another time after that while I was being hard-headed and learning. But I got my shit together, and because those wrecks cost me, I think first one probably cost me 15 grand. Second one cost me about 30 grand. So it took a long time to fix. It was too much downtime for the car, actually. And it was a painful lesson to learn, but I think I got a handle on it now.
Nice. Thank you.
We've raced it quite a bit since then, and I have had no issues with it since then. So,
man, there's nothing truer than this right here. Something fishy. Doing YouTube and working full time is hard, but at least you're getting better on camera, Damon.
Well, thanks. Thank you. I appreciate that. I mean, it has taken some getting used to. Like I said, I didn't grow up around anything like this. I've been to a few filmings before we were actually on, just to help a few people and whatnot. I'm not even real familiar with the YouTube stuff. So having Russell around has been a big help to me, and getting comfortable with the camera crew with Pilgrim and stuff. After you spend some time with those people in the field and on set, I'm kind of a personable person where it's nice to know somebody when you're talking to them and whatnot. People might maybe shy. I don't know. I try not to really come off that way, but sometimes you get around all these people, and what people don't really understand is when you're on camera and they're showing this much of you, there's 8 people behind that camera that's shooting you, and they're all staring at you. And it's a real uncomfortable experience at first. But the more I've gotten to learn, the better I've gotten to learn those people or know those people, the more comfortable it's all made. They've done a really good job. They've been doing this a long time, and it took a little while for me to come out of my shell, but I'm trying. It's all I can do really is try to take a breath, open up a little bit, and to kind of realize that, hey, just tell people the way it is, and what you feel and how you whatever, and it goes a long ways.
I'll tell you, just like we had talked before about doing this. How many of these live chats have you done? Is this your second one? Yeah. So we had talked about this, and it might look easy. Not that we're from pro, but it might look easy when you're watching it on video. But when you're doing this, when I first start this at 1 minute of, I'm all right. 1 minute of, we got 30 seconds. Get ready. Here we go. It's like my heart's beating, my hands get sweaty, the adrenaline's rushing. It's just like, it's a natural high, actually. So as you do it a few times, you get more comfortable with it. Just like you look like a natural doing this, like you've been doing this for 20 years, talking. It's like we're bench racing back and forth. That's how I look at it.
I try to think back when I was really young. I did some MMA stuff, and I try to think back to when I was doing that, and we're in front of a few hundred people or 1,000 people or so, and you're standing in there in nothing but your shorts, about to do mutual combat with somebody in front of all these people.
Yeah.
I never got that butterfly, pukey feeling. For some reason, it just didn't hit me like that. But standing and talking in front of people does that to me. So it's really a weird. Performing, I feel fine. As long as if I'm out there racing my car, I'm good. The interviews are something different.
Really?
Yeah. Once I do a burnout and we're good, and I'm talking to Craig and I'm talking to Lacey and all that, everything's all good. It's, hey, come here and let's do this interview. And I'm just like, oh boy. But it's gotten better. I feel like it's gotten better. It's gotten more comfortable. I don't know how much better it looks, but it's more comfortable.
George Dreesh, do you watch Street Outlaws? I'm not sure who he's directing that question to, but yes, that's a good question. Hopefully you guys are watching Street Outlaws and paying attention to 405. And George, I saw that question you asked me about Larry Lombardo, who's a wheelman for Grumpy. So yes, get a hold of him. Okay, don't forget now.
For all your guys that know Grumpy and stuff, I have recently been compared to being a regular Grumpy Jenkins, and I took that. That was one of the biggest compliments I got all season. So I'm not even on the stratosphere with that guy, but it's nice to be, somebody say something like that for sure.
Well, at work they call me the Grumpy PA. I'm a physician assistant. So they call me the Grumpy PA. And I actually have another channel that I've already started with one video. I just haven't pulled the trigger yet. Because I'm like you, I'm not grumpy and mean. I just want shit done. I want it done when it's going to be done. I don't want to be waiting around for people. I got time. So I kind of get on people's asses about it. But,
I hear you.
I'm looking at the time. We've been talking for 1 hour and 41 minutes. That's a long time of chatting back and forth. We've got 46 people on. We've had like up to 65 people listening in. So I put this up as a replay so your friends or whoever couldn't make it can go back on and watch this kind of thing. So I'm not sure where we talked about every car. We didn't get into a lot of details on the Mustang, but I made videos on those. We probably should think about calling it quits or coming down to a wind down time.
Yeah.
Because right now I can tell. Go ahead.
I said it's just about time here. It's getting dark, and we're going to do some moonlighting tonight on the Chevelle. We're going to try to do some maintenance to it. So we will be shooting that video and putting it out on YouTube. So anybody that's interested with what's going on with the Chevelle, we're going to be putting a video out on it pretty quick and kind of show you what's going on with it.
Like I said before, I made a video of the Mustang and the Chevelle, and I'm working on the Rogue Camaro. That's going to be bad. There's so much video and media for that. It's just going to be a killer video. And I got your dad in there, so it's kind of cool stuff.
Right
so
on,
let's end it now. And any other words that you want to plug? Any of your sponsors? We got those all covered?
I mean, like I said, we picked up a few this season. I appreciate all of them. I mean, we got, like I said, Brando Speed, Lucas, Renegade, Custom Trailer Sales recently has kind of jumped on and started helping me out a little bit. Pro Charger has really kind of took me in here recently and kind of helped me out with a different platform. Since we're running all 3 cars on Pro Chargers, that helped me out quite a bit. So like I said, people have some misconceptions about pay that we get or sponsorships that we get. I mean, we still pay for a lot of parts and stuff, but any help goes a long ways. So I appreciate all those sponsors kind of jumping in and helping out here recently. And we plan to do some big things this season with MPK and the street show with both cars. So, like I said, anybody that wants to jump on board with Team Rogue or Sedusa or whatever, and all the racing that we're doing, hit me up, holler at me.
Get a hold of me if you want to contribute to his racing endeavors. Get a hold of me and I'll get you in contact with Damon. And I appreciate everybody being here. So like I always tell you, you're always seeing something you never seen before and learn something new at DragBoss Garage. So stay tuned.